Don't marry her, says mother-in-law to CEO. At the altar, poor bride reveals secret and St. Mary's Cathedral in Miami was decorated with imported white flowers, crystal chandeliers that cost more than a car, and 300 guests wearing their best clothes. Gabriel Turner, 35 years old, CEO of the largest construction company in the Southeast, was at the altar sweating cold in his Italian tuxedo that cost $15,000. But it wasn't bridegroom nerves. It was something else, fear. Because 15 minutes ago, his mother, Margaret Turner, a 60-year-old woman accustomed to getting everything she wanted, had held his arm with painful force and whispered poison in his ear. Don't marry her, Gabriel. This poor girl just wants your money. I'm begging you, don't make this mistake. Gabriel had freed himself from her, entered the church, taken his place at the altar, but the words echoed in his mind. And then the wedding march began. The doors opened. And there was Marina Scott, 28 years old, in the simple dress that cost $1,200. The most expensive she had ever worn in her life, but which looked like thrift store clothes next to the dresses of the other women present. She walked alone down the aisle. She had no father to give her away. He had died when she was 10. And when she reached the altar, when Gabriel saw the tears in her eyes, when she opened her mouth to say something, even before the priest began the ceremony, he knew everything was going to change. Before continuing with this emotional story, subscribe to the channel here to always receive special stories like this and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. 6 months before that wedding that was about to explode in unexpected ways, Gabriel Turner was having an ordinary workday, or at least it should have been ordinary. He was in his office on the 20th floor of the Turner Development Group building, reviewing contracts, when his assistant, Sonia, hurried in. Mr. Gabriel, there's a situation on the ground floor. A young lady is insisting on speaking with you. Says it's about the public school project. Gabriel sighed. There was always someone wanting something. Social projects attracted all kinds of people. Tell her I scheduled a meeting with city government representatives next week. She can talk to them. She said she already tried, that no one listens, said if you don't come down, she'll wait in the reception area until you leave. Something in Sonia's tone made Gabriel look up. How long has she been there? Since 8 this morning. It's 3 in the afternoon now. 7 hours. Someone had been waiting for 7 hours to talk to him. Okay, tell her to come up. 5 minutes. Marina Scott entered Gabriel's office, and he immediately noticed 3 things. First, she was beautiful in a simple, natural way. Brown hair tied in a ponytail, no makeup beyond a discreet lipstick, a blue cotton dress that clearly wasn't expensive, but was impeccably clean and pressed. Second, she was nervous, her hands trembling slightly as she held a worn folder. Third, there was determination in her brown eyes that he rarely saw in people who entered his office. Good morning, Mr. Turner. My name is Marina Scott. I'm a teacher at Santos Dumont Public School in Opa-locka. Her voice was soft but firm, a local accent that she didn't try to hide. Good morning, Marina. My assistant said you want to talk about the school project. I do. You know your company won the bid to renovate the school, right? I know. It's one of our social projects. We're going to completely renovate it. New roof, painting, bathrooms, playground. But have you been there to see the school yourself? Gabriel hesitated. Not personally. My engineers did the inspection. Marina opened the folder and spread photos on his desk. Photos of a school in deplorable condition. Roof with holes. Bathrooms that looked more like ruins. Children sitting in broken chairs. Your engineers did a 2-hour inspection, Mr. Turner. 2 hours. They wrote things down on paper and left. But I've worked there for 5 years. I know where the real problems are. Gabriel looked at the photos, then at Marina. And what are the real problems? The plumbing. It's all corroded. If you guys just do a surface renovation, everything will start leaking again in 6 months. The structure of one of the walls is compromised. There's a crack you didn't even see because they painted over it before. And there's a foundation issue in the east wing that if it's not corrected, that building could collapse. She spoke with surprising technical knowledge. Are you an engineer? Marina laughed without humor. No, I'm a math teacher, but my father was a construction worker. He taught me a lot before he died, and I live in that school 5 days a week. I know every crack, every leak, every problem. Gabriel picked up the photos, studied them more closely. If what you're saying is true, the budget we have won't cover it. I know, that's why I'm here. to ask you to go there and see for yourself, to talk to the teachers, the staff who have worked there for decades, to do a real project, not just something to look good for the mayor. There was passion in her voice. She really cared. And if I say I can't increase the budget, that there's a signed contract, Marina looked him directly in the eyes, then I'll say you're choosing profit over the safety of 300 children, and I'll have to accept that. But at least I tried. She began to gather the photos. Thank you for your time, Mr. Turner. I know you're a busy man. Wait. Gabriel didn't know why he said it. But something about her, the courage, the determination, the fact that she had waited 7 hours to talk to him, deserved more. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. Meet me at the school. I'll do a personal inspection. Marina's eyes widened. Really? Really? And bring someone who knows the structural problems well. If it really has the problems you say, I need to see. Marina smiled. It was like the sun coming out after a storm. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you so much. And she left, leaving Gabriel wondering what the hell he had just done. The next day, Gabriel arrived at the Santos Dumont Public School at 8 on the dot. He brought his best engineer, Carl, and was prepared for a 2-hour inspection. He ended up staying the whole day, because Marina was right about everything. The plumbing was corroded. The wall had serious structural problems. The East Wing foundation was compromised. It was a miracle the school was still standing. This is going to cost double the original budget, said Carl, worried. Maybe triple. Gabriel looked around. He saw children playing during recess, with no idea of the danger. He saw dedicated teachers working in terrible conditions. He saw Marina talking with students, smiling, clearly loved by them. Then we'll spend triple. Take it from my personal profit if we have to. This school is going to be renovated properly. Carl was shocked. Gabriel never did that. Never put his own money into projects. But something had changed. Or someone had changed him. During the 3 months following, while the renovation was happening, Gabriel found himself making excuses to visit the school. He needed to check on progress, he said. He needed to approve changes, he justified. But the truth was something else. He wanted to see Marina. They started talking during his visits, conversations that started about the construction but drifted to other subjects. Gabriel discovered Marina was an only child, that her father had died in a work accident when she was 10, that her mother washed other people's clothes to pay for her studies until she got a scholarship at the state university. I always wanted to be a teacher, Marina said as they walked through the school under renovation, because I had teachers who believed in me, who told me that a poor girl from the projects could also go to college, have a future. I want to be that for my kids. Gabriel, raised with a silver spoon in his mouth, with everything easy, couldn't even imagine her life. It must have been difficult. It was. But it made me strong. It taught me that nothing worth having comes easy. One day, 2 months after the renovation started, Gabriel invited Marina to dinner. As a thank you for pointing out the problems, he said, but they both knew it was more. Marina hesitated. She knew who he was, a billionaire CEO. She was a teacher who made $3,000 a month. They lived in completely different worlds. But she said yes, because there was something about Gabriel that intrigued her. Underneath the expensive suit and the important position, there was a good man. She saw it when he talked to the construction workers by name, when he praised good work, when he donated his own money to make sure the school was perfect. Dinner was at a sophisticated restaurant that made Marina feel completely out of place. She wore her best dress, bought at a popular store, cost $80, but it looked like rags next to the other women there. Gabriel noticed her discomfort. Do you want to leave? We can eat somewhere else? No, I'm okay, just not used to this. Neither am I, to be honest. I grew up with this, but I never felt comfortable. I always preferred simple food, simple places. Then why did you bring me here? Gabriel smiled. Because I thought that's what women liked, fancy, expensive places. Marina laughed. Some maybe, but not me. If I had to choose, I'd prefer an empanada on the beach. Really? Really? Gabriel called the waiter, cancelled the order, and they left. They went to an empanada stand on South Beach. They sat in plastic chairs, ate cheese empanadas, drank coconut water. And they talked. They talked like they had never talked with anyone. About dreams, fears, lives that were completely different, but somehow complementary. It was that night, sitting in a plastic chair eating a $5 empanada, that Gabriel fell in love. Truly fell in love. For the first time in his 35 years. In the following months they dated, but it was difficult from the start, because the class differences were glaring in every interaction. Gabriel wanted to take Marina on trips, to expensive restaurants, to give extravagant gifts. Marina felt uncomfortable with all of that. She didn't want to be taken care of. She didn't want to be seen as a gold digger. "Gabriel, I don't need a diamond necklace. I don't feel good wearing these things. But I want to give it to you. You deserve beautiful things. Deserving isn't about money, it's about character. And I already have what's most important: dignity, honest work, purpose." These conversations repeated. Gabriel trying to demonstrate love through material things, because it was what he knew how to do. Marina trying to explain that love couldn't be bought. But the biggest difficulty wasn't them, it was Gabriel's family. Margaret Turner, Gabriel's mother, was the family matriarch. A widow for 10 years, she had built an empire with her husband and wasn't going to let anyone destroy it. When Gabriel took Marina to meet her, 3 months after they started dating, Margaret assessed her with a look that seemed to calculate monetary value. Margaret's house in an upscale neighborhood was a museum of wealth. Each object cost more than Marina's annual salary, and Margaret made a point of mentioning it. This vase came from China, 17th century, worth $500,000. I hope you don't touch it. Marina hadn't touched it. She didn't touch anything. She just sat in the chair she was shown and answered questions that were more interrogation than conversation. "So you're a teacher?" "Yes, Mrs. Turner. In a public school, I see. You must earn very little." "I earn enough for my needs." "And your family? What does your father do?" "My father died when I was 10. He was a construction worker." Margaret barely disguised her disdain. "I see. And your mother?" "Washes clothes. She's a laundress." "How interesting." After the torturous dinner, when Gabriel took Marina away, Margaret held her son's arm. "Gabriel, we need to talk. Alone." Gabriel left Marina in the car and went back. "Mom, I know what you're going to say." "You do? Then you know that this girl is not right for you." "She's poor, Gabriel, from the projects. She wants money." "Marina's not like that. She won't even accept my gifts." "That's exactly what a smart gold digger would do. Play hard to get to seem modest." "You don't know her." "I know her type. Women like her see men like you as a lottery ticket. Marry, get pregnant, secure alimony, and then disappear with half your assets." "Mom, that's prejudice." "That's reality, Gabriel. People stay with people from the same social level. It's always been that way. You need a wife who understands your world, who can move in your circles, who won't be an embarrassment to the company. Marina is not an embarrassment. Not yet, but she will be. At the first gala, the first social event, when she doesn't know which fork to use, when she mispronounces words, when the other CEOs' wives laugh at her. It'll be an embarrassment for you and torture for her." Gabriel was furious but couldn't respond, because part of him, a small part he hated to admit, wondered if his mother was right. Marina noticed the change in him on the way back. "Your mother didn't like me." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. "She just needs time to get to know you." "Gabriel, look at me." He looked. "I know who I am, I know where I come from, and I'm not ashamed of it. But I also know that your world and my world are different. If you have doubts about that, about us, better to end it now." "I have no doubts." "You do, I saw it in your eyes. Your mother planted a seed." And she had. Damn it, she really had. Because Gabriel started noticing things. How Marina didn't know about expensive wines at the restaurant. How uncomfortable she was at social events with his business colleagues. How her clothes, even her best ones, seemed simple next to the other women. Not that it mattered to him, but would it matter to his world? They fought about it several times in the following months. "Marina, it's just a company party. You need to go." "Gabriel, I don't fit in those places. I feel out of place." "You only think that because my mother put it in your head." "No, I think that because it's true. Yesterday a woman asked me if my dress was vintage. I didn't know how to say it was just old because I don't have money to buy a new one every time there's an event. So let me buy dresses for you." "No, I don't want to be kept. I don't want to be a charity project." "It's not charity. It's a boyfriend taking care of his girlfriend. It's turning me into someone else, into someone I'm not." These fights were frequent and painful because they both loved each other. But was love enough when the world conspired against them? It was during one of these fights, 6 months after they started dating, that Gabriel did something impulsive, something that surprised even himself. He knelt. They were at his apartment, had just fought again about a social event. Marina was crying from frustration, and Gabriel knelt in the middle of the living room. "Marry me." Marina froze. "What? Marry me, Marina. I love you. Yes, we're different. Yes, it will be difficult. But I don't care, I want you. I want to wake up every day seeing your face. I want to build a life together. Marry me." There wasn't even a ring. He hadn't even planned it. But it was the most sincere thing he had ever said. Marina cried, "Gabriel, your family will hate it. I don't care. Your world will reject me. Then screw them. You are my world now. And if it doesn't work out, and if your mother is right and I can't fit in, then we face it together. But don't let fear decide, Marina. I love you. Do you love me? So much it hurts. Then say yes, please." Marina looked at him, saw sincerity, saw love, but also saw naivety. Gabriel didn't fully understand how difficult it would be. He grew up in a world where money solved everything. But she loved him. God knew how much she loved him. "Yes, yes, I'll marry you." Gabriel pulled her into a hug, and in that moment, they believed love would conquer everything. They were about to discover just how difficult everything could be. When Gabriel told his mother he had asked Marina to marry him, Margaret had what could only be described as a breakdown. She cried, she screamed, she threatened to disinherit Gabriel, said he was destroying the family legacy. "That girl will ruin you. She'll spend your money, make you look ridiculous, destroy the reputation your family built for generations." "Mom, enough. Marina's not like that. You're blind. Blind because of whatever she did to seduce you." "She didn't seduce me. I fell in love. There's a difference. Infatuation fades, Gabriel. And when it does, what will you have left? A woman who can't even converse in the same circles as you." The fight was ugly. It ended with Gabriel leaving, saying he would marry with or without his mother's blessing. But the following weeks were torture. Margaret called every day, sent messages, appeared at his office, always with the same speech: "Don't marry her." The wedding preparations were strange. Marina wanted something simple. Gabriel wanted to give her the wedding of her dreams. Margaret wanted the wedding to simply not happen. Marina chose a simple dress because it was what fit her limited budget. When Gabriel offered to pay for a more expensive dress, she refused. "I want to marry in a dress I bought with my own money. I want to look back and know it was honest." "Marina, it's not dishonest to let the groom help. For you it isn't. For me it is. I need this, Gabriel. I need to know I'm not selling myself, not becoming what your mother says I am." Gabriel didn't fully understand, but he respected it. The guest list was another battle. Marina wanted to invite teacher colleagues, neighbors from the neighborhood where she grew up, humble friends. Gabriel wanted to invite clients, business partners, the Miami elite. They ended up with a strange list, half people in designer suits, half people in clothes from popular stores. A wedding that would be a social battlefield even before it began. The week before the wedding, Margaret intensified her attacks. She appeared at Marina's school, made scenes. She called Gabriel crying, begging him to reconsider. "She'll make you unhappy. She'll trap you with a child. She'll suck everything you have. Mom, for God's sake, don't marry her, Gabriel. I'm begging you, don't make this mistake." Gabriel hung up, but the words echoed. On the wedding day, 15 minutes before the ceremony began, while Gabriel waited at the altar, Margaret made her final attempt. She held his arm tightly. "Don't marry her, Gabriel. This poor girl just wants your money. I'm begging you, don't make this mistake." Gabriel freed himself. "Enough, Mom. It's over. I'm marrying Marina, and you'll have to accept it." He entered the church, stood at the altar, sweating, not from heat but from accumulated tension. And then the wedding march began. The doors opened. Marina began to walk down the aisle. Alone. Her father was dead. She had no one to give her away. The simple dress that cost $1,200 from her savings looked humble next to the ostentation around. But she walked with her head held high, with dignity. She reached the altar, looked at Gabriel, and he saw tears in her eyes, but not tears of joy. Something was wrong. Before the priest could begin, Marina spoke. Her voice was low but clear on the microphone the priest held. "Gabriel, I need to say something. Before we do this, before I become your wife, you need to know the truth." Gabriel's heart stopped. The entire church fell into absolute silence. 300 pairs of eyes fixed on Marina, and she said the words that would change everything. But before continuing and discovering the outcome of this emotional story, leave your like here in the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new stories. What do you think Marina is going to reveal? Is she really a gold digger? Or is there something more to the story? Also tell me which city you're watching this video from, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. Now, let's get back to our story. Marina was at the altar, tears streaming down her face, 300 guests in absolute silence waiting. Gabriel felt his heart beating so hard it seemed it would leap out of his chest, and his mother, Margaret, in the first row, had a poorly disguised expression of triumph, as if she knew she was about to be vindicated, that Marina was finally going to reveal herself to be the gold digger she had always said she was. "Gabriel," Marina began, her voice trembling but firm, "you need to know the truth. Before marrying me, before I become your wife, you need to know who I really am." She took a deep breath. "I lied to you. About who I am. About my family." Gabriel felt the floor disappear. Was Margaret right? Was it all a lie? "My name isn't Marina Scott," she continued. "Or rather it is. But I'm not who you think I am. My father wasn't just a construction worker. He was. He was the owner of the second largest construction company in Miami." Absolute silence. Gabriel blinked, confused. "What?" "My father was Anthony Scott, of Scott Construction. You must have heard of it." Gabriel had heard of it. Scott Construction was a direct competitor of the Turner Development Group. They had gone bankrupt 15 years ago in a corruption scandal that shook the industry. "I was 13 when it happened," Marina continued, tears now falling freely. "My father was accused of fraud, of paying bribes, of overcharging for public works projects. It was a public trial, humiliating. Photos of him being arrested were in all the newspapers. And we lost everything. The house, the cars, everything was seized." She wiped her tears but continued. "My father was exonerated 3 years later. They proved he didn't know about the fraud, that it was his partners doing everything without his knowledge. But it was too late. The company had gone bankrupt. Our reputation was destroyed. And my father never recovered. The shame, the humiliation killed him inside. He had a heart attack when I was 17. He died not as a successful businessman, but as a broken man." Gabriel was processing, trying to understand. "So when you said your father was a construction worker, after we lost everything, my father tried to start over. The man who built buildings, who commanded hundreds of employees, had to take construction jobs to survive. And my mother, who had never worked outside the home in her life, had to wash clothes for others. I didn't lie about that. I just didn't tell the whole story." "Why not?" Marina looked directly into his eyes. "Because I was afraid. Afraid you would think I was a gold digger, that I was trying to recover what my family lost through you. Afraid you would think it was revenge. The daughter of a bankrupt competitor getting close to the rival construction company's CEO. Afraid you wouldn't be able to see beyond my last name." She paused. "And mostly, I was afraid of your mother, because I knew. I knew that Margaret Turner was one of the people who pushed the hardest for my family's investigation. I knew she gave interviews saying my father was a criminal, that he deserved prison. I read it all, Gabriel. Every article. I saw her name in every one." Gabriel turned to look at his mother. Margaret was pale. Marina continued, her voice stronger now. "When I met you, when I walked into your office 6 months ago, I knew who you were. I knew you were the son of the woman who helped destroy my family. And I knew that telling you the truth would mean losing you. So I stayed quiet. I kept the secret. And each day that passed, it became harder to speak, because I fell in love with you. For real. Not for the money. Not for the position. For you." Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably now. "But I can't marry you carrying this lie. I can't start our life together knowing I hid who I really am, so I'm telling you now, here, in front of everyone. And if you want to cancel the wedding, if you think I'm a liar, a gold digger, if you can't forgive me, I'll understand." Marina took off the simple engagement ring Gabriel had given her. It cost $5,000, modest by his standards, but expensive for her, and held it out to him. "The decision is yours, but no matter what you choose, I want you to know, I love you. For real. Not for what you have, but for who you are." And she stood there, vulnerable, exposed, waiting. The church was so quiet, you could hear the hum of the fans. 300 people holding their breath. The photographer's cameras stopped clicking. Gabriel looked at Marina. He saw the woman who had waited 7 hours to talk to him about children in danger. He saw the teacher who refused expensive gifts because she wanted to maintain her dignity. He saw the daughter who cared for her mother after they lost everything. He saw someone who, instead of holding a grudge, dedicated her life to educating poor children. And he understood. Understood why she stayed quiet. Understood the fear. Understood the vulnerability. He took the ring she offered, but instead of keeping it, he took Marina's hand and put the ring back on her finger. "Marina Scott," he said, his voice loud enough for the whole church to hear, "I don't care who your father was. I don't care that you hid this, because I know who you are now. I know what you do for those children. I know how you take care of your mother. I know you're the most principled person I've ever met." He looked back to where his mother was sitting. "And if my mother helped destroy your family unjustly, then she's the one who should apologize. But that doesn't change how I feel about you." He turned back to Marina. "Marry me, please, just the way you are, with all your history, with all your truths." Marina sobbed. "Are you sure?" "I've never been so sure of anything in my life." But then a voice cut through the moment, cold, furious. "I forbid this." Margaret was on her feet, and her face was transformed by the rage she had held back for months. "Gabriel, you don't know what you're doing. That family destroyed our company, stole our contracts, spread lies about your father." Marina turned to her. "My father never did any of that, and you know it. Your father was a criminal. My father was exonerated in court, with proof, but you never retracted any of the things you said. You never apologized for spreading lies that ruined his life." Marina's voice was loud now, years of pain finally coming out. "You destroyed my family, Mrs. Turner, out of ambition, out of wanting to eliminate competition, and when they proved my father was innocent, you simply ignored it, never admitted your mistake, left his reputation destroyed. I did what was necessary to protect my family. You destroyed mine." Marina's shout echoed through the church, and then she began to cry. Not delicate tears, but deep sobs, years of accumulated pain. "My father died of a broken heart, literally. He died because he couldn't bear the shame, the humiliation. He died thinking he had failed me and my mother, and part of that is your fault." Gabriel hugged Marina, let her cry on his shoulder, and then he turned to his mother. "Mum, is this true? Did you know Anthony Scott was innocent?" Margaret went pale. I did what I thought was right at the time." "Answer the question. Did you know?" There was a long silence, and then Margaret broke down. "I suspected. There was evidence pointing to it being the partners, but their company was growing, taking our contracts. It was unfair competition. So when the investigation started, I took advantage. I talked to the press, spread rumors, made sure that even if he was exonerated, his reputation would be destroyed." The confession shocked everyone. Gabriel felt nauseous. "You destroyed an innocent man's family. For money. For our family. To protect our business." "That's not protection, Mom. That's cruelty. That's evil." Margaret began to cry. "I did what I thought was necessary, but I never wanted to. I never thought that he would die." Marina finished, her voice cold now. "That a 13-year-old girl would lose everything. That a family would be destroyed." Margaret didn't answer. She just cried. The priest, who had been paralyzed during the whole scene, finally spoke. Perhaps we should continue this in private." But Marina shook her head. "No, it was public when they destroyed my family. It will be public now." She turned to the congregation. "You all saw it, saw the truth. Margaret Turner purposely destroyed an innocent family, and for 6 months she treated me like trash, called me a gold digger, tried to stop this wedding. Not because I was unworthy, but because she knew who I was, and was afraid the truth would come out." She looked at Margaret. "You didn't hate me because I was poor. You hated me because I was a living reminder of your guilt." Margaret didn't deny it. She just sank into her chair, crying. Gabriel was processing everything. The mother he idolized had done something monstrous. The woman he loved had hidden a significant truth. And there he was, at the altar, in front of 300 people, having to decide. He looked at Marina. "Why did you really come to my office? That first day?" Marina hesitated, but after everything she deserved total honesty. Because I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what kind of person was the son of the woman who destroyed my family, if you were like her, if you deserved the hatred I had held for years. And what did you find? That you're not your mother, that you're good, generous, that you care about poor kids in a school no one else cares about, that you put your own money into doing the job right when you didn't have to. That you're everything I didn't expect. But did you plan it? Plan to get close to me? Marina shook her head. No, I swear, I just wanted to understand. But then I fell in love, for real. And each day it became harder to tell, because I was afraid of losing you. Gabriel was silent for a long moment, the entire church waiting. His decision would determine not only his future, but Marina's as well. Finally, he spoke. Father, can you continue the ceremony? Marina's eyes widened. Gabriel, are you sure? You asked me in the car weeks ago if I had doubts, if I thought you didn't fit into my world, and I did. I have to admit, part of me wondered if my mother was right. He held both of Marina's hands. But now I understand. The problem was never you not fitting into my world. The problem was my world being wrong. A world where my mother can destroy innocent families and sleep peacefully, where wealth matters more than character, where a dedicated teacher is seen as inferior because she earns little. Tears began to fall from Gabriel's eyes too. You don't need to fit into that world, Marina, because I don't want to be part of it anymore. I want to be part of your world, where integrity matters, where people care for each other, where a 13-year-old girl who loses everything chooses to become a teacher to help other children instead of becoming bitter. He turned to his mother. Mum, I love you, but what you did is unforgivable, and it will take a long time, maybe years, to rebuild trust. But Marina, I forgive Marina right now, because I understand why she hid, and I choose to believe her. He looked back at Marina. Marry me, build a new life with me, a life better than the one our parents had. Marina was crying so much she could barely speak. Yes, yes, I want to. The priest, clearly relieved, began the ceremony, but it was a strange ceremony. Half the guests were shocked, the other half were moved, and Margaret was in the first row crying, not from anger but from shame and regret. When it was time for the vows, Gabriel improvised. Marina, I promise to love you not in spite of your story, but because of it. I promise to build a life where honesty matters more than appearances, where we do the right thing even when it's hard, and I promise to make peace with what my mother did, somehow. Marina in turn said, Gabriel, I promise to never lie again. I promise to show you who I really am every day. I promise not to let the bitterness of the past poison our future, and I promise to help you build a better legacy than our parents. When they were finally declared husband and wife, the kiss was wet with tears, but they were tears of relief, of truth finally free, of new beginnings. The reception was tense at first. Half the guests didn't know how to react. Margaret had left immediately, didn't stay for the party. But Marina's friends, teachers, neighbors from the underprivileged neighborhood, simple people, they made the party happen. They danced, they laughed, they celebrated the love that had survived so much, and Gabriel realized something. He was having more fun with Marina's simple friends than he had ever had at expensive galas with the Miami elite. Late at night, when the party was ending, Marina's mother, Mrs. Joanna, who had been quiet the whole time, approached Gabriel. My son, she said. She called him son, and that touched Gabriel deeply. Thank you for believing in my girl, for seeing who she really is. I'm the one who should thank you, Mrs. Joanna, for raising such an incredible woman. It wasn't easy. After we lost everything, after Anthony died, there were days I didn't know how I would put food on the table. But Marina never complained, never lost her kindness. When she got her university scholarship, she could have forgotten about me. But she didn't forget. She worked, studied, helped me. She's my pride. And mine too. Mrs. Joanna hesitated. Your mother. She did terrible things to my family. But she's your mother. Don't let that destroy your relationship with her. Hatred only generates more hatred. Forgive her, eventually. Gabriel was surprised by the generosity. How can you be so magnanimous? Because holding a grudge is like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. I already lost my husband to bitterness. I'm not going to lose anything else because of it. That night, in the hotel where they would spend their honeymoon before traveling, Gabriel and Marina were finally alone. without lies between them, without secrets. "I can't believe it really happened," Marina said. "I can't believe you forgave me, that you still wanted to marry me. Marina, the moment you started confessing, I was scared. I won't lie. But then you explained why, and everything made sense. You didn't lie out of malice. You lied out of fear. Legitimate fear. Even so, I should have told you sooner. You should have. But I understand why you didn't, and I choose to move forward, without that hanging over us." Marina nestled against his chest. "And your mother?" Gabriel sighed. "I don't know. I need to process. I need to understand how the woman who raised me, who taught me right and wrong, was capable of that. People aren't just good or bad, Gabriel. They're complicated. Your mother did a terrible thing, but she also raised you well, made you the man you are today. How can you defend her after what she did?" "I'm not defending her. I'm acknowledging that hatred doesn't solve anything. She'll have to live with what she did, and eventually you two will need to talk. But not today. Today is our day." And it was. The first day of the rest of their lives. The following months were an adjustment. Marina moved into Gabriel's house, a mansion that seemed absurd compared to the two-bedroom apartment where she lived with her mother. But she didn't try to pretend she belonged. She kept her job, continued teaching, refused a life as a CEO's wife who did nothing. "I didn't marry you to be kept. I married you because I love you. My kids at school need me." Gabriel admired that about her, and he began to question his own life. Was he really happy as a CEO, or was he just following the path his parents had laid out? He began to get more involved in the company's social projects, spent more time at construction sites visiting workers, less time in meetings about profits. As for Margaret, she went 3 months without speaking to Gabriel. 3 months of painful silence, until one day she appeared at their house. Marina answered the door. The two women stood face to face. "May I come in?" asked Margaret, humble in a way Marina had never seen. "It's Gabriel's house. He decides." Gabriel came to the door, looked at his mother, saw a broken woman, aged, carrying the weight of guilt for months. "Come in." The three of them sat in the living room, uncomfortable silence. Margaret spoke first. I came to apologize. To both of you. Marina, what I did to your family was unforgivable. I destroyed an innocent man's life out of ambition, and when you appeared in my son's life, instead of seeing an opportunity to make amends, I only saw a threat. Tears streamed down her face. I was afraid. Afraid you wanted revenge. Afraid you wanted to destroy Gabriel like I destroyed your father. So I attacked first, tried to paint you as the villain to feel better about my own villainous past. She looked at Gabriel. And you, my son, I tried to control your life. Tried to make you marry someone convenient instead of someone who truly loves you, because deep down I knew Marina was too good for you, better than I ever was. Gabriel didn't know what to say. Margaret turned back to Marina. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I've spent the last 3 months trying to fix it. I hired private investigators, gathered all the evidence of your father's innocence, and I published it, in the same newspapers where I spread lies before. She took an envelope from her purse and handed it to Marina. Every newspaper, every magazine, every blog that spoke ill of Anthony Scott has now published a retraction, published the truth, that he was innocent, that he was unjustly destroyed, and that I was part of it. Marina opened the envelope with trembling hands. She saw clippings. Businessman Anthony Scott was innocent. New investigation confirms. Scott family deserves public apology. Margaret Turner admits error in Scott case. I also created a fund, Margaret continued, $5 million, in Anthony Scott's name, for scholarships for children of construction workers, so other children don't lose their father to injustice like you lost yours. Marina was crying now. Why? Why do all this? Because I can't sleep at night. Because the image of your father, a man I never met but destroyed, haunts me. And because I want my son to be proud of me again, even if it takes years. Gabriel looked at Marina. The decision had to be hers. Marina was silent for a long moment. And then, Mrs. Turner, what you did to my family can't be undone. My father is dead. Those years of suffering don't come back. But, she took a deep breath, but my mother taught me that hatred only generates more hatred, that forgiving isn't forgetting, but it is freeing yourself. She held Margaret's hand. I forgive you. Not for you, but for me. So I don't carry this for the rest of my life and for Gabriel, because he needs his mother, and I won't be the reason you stay apart." Margaret broke down, cried in deep sobs. Gabriel cried too, and Marina, even crying, kept holding her mother-in-law's hand. It was in that moment that true healing began. Not instant healing. That doesn't exist. But the beginning of a long process. In the following years, many things changed. Margaret became a vocal advocate for ethics in business, for treating competitors with respect. She donated a large part of her fortune to social causes, tried in every possible way to repair what she had broken. Marina and she never became best friends. The wound was too deep, but they developed mutual respect and eventually something resembling affection. Gabriel transformed the company, implemented total transparency policies, treated suppliers and competitors with respect, and dedicated half the profits to social projects, schools, hospitals, affordable housing. "It's what my father-in-law would have done," he said when questioned. Anthony Scott, from what I've researched, was an ethical businessman. I want to honor his memory. Marina continued teaching. Even with access to a fortune, she refused to stop working. Her kids needed her. And she needed them. They reminded her where she came from, who she was. 3 years after the wedding, Marina got pregnant. It was an unexpected but much-loved pregnancy. And when the baby was born, a beautiful boy with green eyes, they had a talk about his name. "I want to name him Anthony," said Marina, "in honor of my father." Gabriel agreed immediately, and when Margaret found out, she cried for hours, because she understood what it meant. It meant Marina had truly forgiven her, enough to name her own son in honor of the man Margaret helped destroy. 5 years after the wedding, they did something special. With the family's permission, they erected a memorial in a public square in Miami. A memorial in honor of Anthony Scott. The plaque said, "Anthony Scott, principled businessman unjustly destroyed. May his memory remind us, reputation is fragile. Truth matters, and it is never too late to do what's right." At the inauguration, Margaret spoke. She spoke publicly about her mistakes, about what she did, about her regret. It wasn't an easy speech, but it was honest. Mrs. Joanna was there. And at the end, when Margaret stepped down from the platform, the two women, both widows, both survivors, hugged. A long hug. Real forgiveness. 10 years after that dramatic wedding, Gabriel and Marina were older. Well, not old, 55 and 48 respectively, but older, graying, with wrinkles that told stories of laughter and tears. Anthony was in engineering college. Helena studied law. Both chose careers they could use to help others. Engineering to build affordable housing, law to defend the wronged. Margaret had died 2 years before, a peaceful death, sleeping at 83. But before she died, she called Marina. "Thank you," were her last conscious words to her daughter-in-law, "for saving my son, for saving me." Mrs. Joanna lived with them now, 75 years old, retired, helping take care of the house and occasionally the grandchildren when they visited. On a Sunday afternoon, with the whole family gathered, someone asked, "Mom, tell the story again of how you and Dad met." It was Helena, who loved to hear it. Marina and Gabriel exchanged looks. They had told it 1,000 times, but they told it again. "It all started when I waited 7 hours to talk to an arrogant CEO about a school in danger." And they told it. The edited version for children at first, but as the children grew up, they told the full version. About secrets, about class prejudice, about a destroyed family, about the dramatic revelation at the altar. "And you almost didn't get married?" Helena would ask, always fascinated. "Almost," Gabriel would admit, "but your grandpa up there helped me see the person your mother really was." "And Grandma Margaret, was she evil?" "She wasn't evil," Marina would correct. "She did evil things. There's a difference. People aren't just good or bad. They're complicated. And she spent the rest of her life trying to fix her mistakes. That counts for something." "Did she apologize?" "She did, many times. And showed it with actions, not just words." "So, everything that happened, was it worth it?" Gabriel looked at Marina. 20 years, 2 children, a life built together, a transformed company, changed legacies. "It was worth it," they said together, because in the end, it wasn't about who was right. It wasn't about money or social class. It was about choices, Gabriel chose to believe in Marina when it would have been easier to doubt. Marina chose to forgive Margaret when it would have been easier to hate. Margaret chose to change when it would have been easier to remain the same. And those choices, difficult, painful, courageous, made all the difference. Comment down below, "True love wins." So I know you made it to the end of this video, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. And if the story of Gabriel, Marina, and Margaret moved you, I have another one even more surprising to share with you. Just click on the video that's appearing on your screen now, and I'll tell you all about it. A big hug, and see you next time for another emotional story. Bye-bye.